Welcome to week 6 of the Bible reading experience. Really hope that you're having a good time and that you're encountering God through this journey. Last week we read in Exodus about how God delivered his people out of slavery in Egypt. And he did so through a tremendous demonstration of his power through miracles and signs and wonders. And he makes it very clear to Moses that the purpose of taking his people out is so that they can worship him. And so this week, as we continue in the book of Exodus, we see the beginning of this journey of discovery, and as the Israelites step into this purpose of worshiping God. We open up in chapter 19 when they come to Mount Sinai, also known as Mount Horeb. And you may remember back in chapter 3 when Moses encountered God through the burning bush. It was right here at Mount Horeb. And you'll remember that Moses was nervous and he was afraid and he was negotiating with God because he didn't want to take on this onerous task of having to lead God's people out of slavery and into the promises of God. And so God gives him this promise in chapter 3, verse 12, when God says to him, "I will be with you. And this will be a sign to you so that you would know that it is I that has sent you. When you have led the people out of Egypt, you will come and you will worship God on this mountain." And so chapter 19 is an amazing fulfillment of this promise when they come and they worship God on this mountain. It's here that God enters into a covenant with his people. And this covenant is commonly referred to as the Old Covenant. And actually, when we talk of the Old Testament, it's really the word of God that was written around this covenant that God entered into with his people. And it's a covenant that gives the nation of Israel something of an exalted position among the nations of the world on condition that they worship the Lord and him alone, and that they give themselves to him in humble obedience. And this covenant is entered into through dramatic circumstances. I mean, there is thunder, there is lightning, there is cloud cover on the mountain, there is fire, there is smoke, and the mountain itself trembles. And it really, really is dramatic. And the people are filled with a reverent fear and awe for this God who enters into covenant with them. The writer of Hebrews refers to this scenario of the trembling mountain, and he does so in Hebrews chapter 12, where he is really contrasting the old covenant to the new covenant, and really where we start to see that the old covenant is kind of like a foreshadow. It points towards a new, superior, a more glorious covenant that we enter into through Jesus Christ. And it is really the unfolding of God's plan of salvation, which began through Abraham, and you'll remember that story. And so it carries on. And what you're reading this week is very much part of this glorious, glorious story, God's story of his plan and his purpose for his glory worked out through humankind. And you and I get to be a part of it. And so I pray that this week, as you read the Bible and as you encounter God, that your eyes will be opened, and that you will get to see and to appreciate God's plan for salvation. May you enjoy God through the scriptures. May you encounter him through every step of the way. Thanks so much for being a part of the Bible reading experience. God bless you.